Greetings from Elite English Academy. Dear friends, welcome to this TRB English Polytechnic Lecturer Exam Preparation Series 2020. This is the 12th video. In this video, I am going to discuss George Ryga's famous novel In the Shadow of the Vulture. Let's have a brief note on the writer. George Ryga is a Canadian playwright and novelist. He lived between 1932 and 1987. His first drama was Indian, which was a television play in 1961. The Ecstasy of Rita Jo shot him to fame in 1967. Later, it was published as The Ecstasy of Rita Jo and Other Plays. In this TRB Polytechnic syllabus, there are two works. One is the play called Portrait of Angelica and the novel in discussion In the Shadow of the Vulture. In the Shadow of the Vulture talks about the slave trade that took place between Mexico and America. This novel was inspired by a true incident that happened in 1960s. First, let me introduce the characters. So the novel begins from Mexico. In Mexico, there is a slave trader called Roman. Roman is known as a flesh merchant. Roman has a driver. He owns a truck in which there is a driver. The driver name is Thomas. So in Mexico, from different parts, he purchases different slaves. The slaves are Juan, Anastasio, Jose, Maria, Antonio. So in the course of the narration, in the first half of the novel, concentrates on how Roman acquires all these people, and slowly the background of each slave gets unfolded. So Roman is a person who does not believe anyone. As a result, he always carries a rifle. So first, when Joan was purchased, he is the person who was well built, and he was sold by a police officer. Then afterwards, Anastasio is a former priest. He was defrocked. In the sense, once he happened to seduce a girl inside the church itself, so that is known to others and superiors. As a result, she was defrocked. Then Jose is a poor peasant from Mexico. One day, out of hunger, he goes to a farming field where he just gets some carrots. As a result, the farm owners catches him. Then he was tied into the tree. Then later he was sold to Roman. Then Maria. Maria is a girl who is very, very responsible. When the novel opens, when she is sold as a slave, she is in her middle age. So at a very, very young age, in order to take care of the family, she sells herself for 1,000 pesos. Pesos is a money that was used in Mexico, right? So her father was a drunkard. So once he falls from the horse, and in the following month he was hit by a truck and he dies. As a result, as the child, she takes up the family responsibility. The mother does not know what to do. So this girl, Maria, goes to a person and who is running a tailoring business, and she tells her like this: you give 1,000 pesos to my mother and I'll come as a slave to you, then I will do whatever you ask. So as a result, the money is given. So she's the person who sells herself. Later, the story says that the person who buys her is not a good person. He is suffering from so many diseases. As a result, once out of anger, when he slaps her and beats her, her hand is broken. The broken hand never recovers. So she has a deformed hand. So this is the story of Maria. Antonio is another girl who is relatively young in this group. She, at the age of 14, was seduced by her uncle. So the uncle, who is in his late 40s, he wants to marry Antonio. So when this matter was brought up in front of Antonio, the parents found fault with Antonio. As a result, the father beats Antonio severely. On that day, she takes the decision, I will not return to this household. So on the way out of the house, once she gets money from the uncle and yields to him, then with that money she goes to other places and she makes her own living. As a result, in the novel it is referred that she is a person who is Antonio the War, like that. A few more information about Juan. Juan is a bandit. Bandit means he is a robber. So he makes a living or he robs people only for his eating. It so happened once he was caught, then he was sentenced for 12 years. So he manages to escape the jail. So there he kills one police officer and he escapes. Later, once he was caught and he was sold to Roma. So this is the story of every person. So now let me recall what I shared so far. From Mexico, Roman buys all these important slaves and goes towards America. He has to cross the border. On the way, it is a small truck. There are other people also, children and parents are there. So their names and incidents are not mentioned in the novel. So here for this slave trade from US, one person acts as a middleman. That middleman name is Elmer Bryson. So with great difficulty, Roman enters into the border of US and leave all the others in the desert and he returns. On his way, so before when he drops them, Roman understands that Thomas, the driver, wants to kill Roman and takes up the business. He senses that. So Roman kills Thomas and leaving all these people in the desert, he returns with the truck alone. So it is the normal thing happen. Later, he will be given money and the people who wanted these slaves, they will come and pick up them. So that is the arrangement. So these arrangements are not known by others. Roman enters into the border, drops all the people and he returns. So the middleman, he convinces one of his fellow countrymen. His name is Stretch Henderson. Stretch Henderson is in his old age, in his 50s. He is running a farm. Recently, he gets a big contract. So as a result, he wants to produce so many chicken. He wants a chicken farm. He wants expansion since he has got a new contract. As a result, Elmer Bryson helps him to get these slaves. See, Stretch Henderson goes to the desert along with Elmer Bryson and collect all these slaves. Juan, Anastasio, Jose, Maria, Antonio, and collect them and come back to his farm. It is a secluded farm. Others cannot enter. The farm is guarded by two big dogs. So Henderson's wife is Sue. So it so happened there are thousands of chicken, layer after layer, nearby. So next room is the quarters of these slaves. The quarters of the slaves are locked from the outside. So even in the night, if they want to go out, they cannot go. After a few days, what happens, by mistake, Maria touches the small fire over there. So it somehow it catches fire. So Maria dies in that place itself. Then slowly the fire spreads. So the other people somehow they manage to come out of the room. At the same time, the entire chicken farm is on fire. So inside the campus, Stretch Henderson and Sue live. So seeing the fire, they come out. So when they come out, he comes with a gun as usual. He doesn't realize a girl is dead, but whereas he is talking ill of others, then in one move he shoots at Juan. Juan is the well-built man, but somehow he misses the target. The bullet hits Juan's leg. As a result, what happens? So the other people, Joes especially, he hits the owner, Stretch Henderson, with a wood. So when he hits, the dogs attack him. So somehow the dogs are killed, and the entire farm comes under the control of these slaves. So earlier there were 5 slaves, now minus Maria, Juan, Anastasio, Jose, Antonio, they escape. So carrying all the guns from his house, they go. So there is a search committee. Elmer Bryson, he instructs people. So in helicopter they are searching. Somehow they manage to go to a small place. So there is only one cabin in which Sandy was living. So if you read the novel, you can see the parallel story. One chapter is about the slaves, another chapter is about Sandy and Bo. Sandy and Bo are war veterans of America. Once they served in the army in the fight that took place in Cuba. After the war, they have come back to the native place and they are working in a post office. So Sandy, because of some reasons, so after resigning everything, he lives alone in the desert. His only cabin is available in that place. Somehow these slaves, escaped slave, they go there. Sandy is soft-hearted. As a result, he says that, okay, I will help you. But the thing is, there are 60 kilometers between Sandy's place and Mexico border. So Sandy promises that I will help you to go to the place. So somehow early in the morning, they just get ready in the truck and everything is ready for their movement. But the thing is, somehow the search committee, they happen to see the jeep in which these people are trying to escape. At one point in the middle of the road, there is a helicopter and 3 cars, a few men with guns. But they did not expect these people have gun. So when the jeep goes closer, somehow they shoot at all the men over there and the jeep go in high speed towards Mexican border. With that, the novel ends. See, the novel has got so many beautiful lines. So though it is about slave trade, so towards the end, it ends with a positive note of freedom. Let me read a few textual lines which is so beautiful. So one line goes like this. Death was no longer an end to life. So when the slaves, they are thinking, they say, death is no longer an end to life. There is something more than that. So at one point someone says, my kindness is my weakness. So towards the end, Antonio, she is referred as a whore, a prostitute. So finally, when she takes the gun and gets into the jeep for the final journey, at that time she says like this, Antonio the whore had also died. Antonio the fighter rose from the ashes. Like this, there are so many interesting and motivational lines towards the end of the novel. So with that, the novel gets over. The theme is slavery and freedom. So here these people, these traded slaves, they want to get the freedom at any cost. Number one. Number two, people like Elmer Bryson, the political persons, they wanted to do the slave trade in order to improve their fortune, money, and political gains. So Elmer Bryson, very often he goes to people like Stretch Henderson and get money for the political campaign. In return, he is helping them with these people, with the slave trade, this and that. With that, the novel comes to an end. Dear friends, so far you listened to the summary of George Ryga's In the Shadow of the Vulture. The detailed analysis chapter-wise summary, and tests are part of the main course. If you wish to join us, please call the given number. Thank you. All the best.